All right, let's talk about a problem that every single one of us has faced. You're deep into a mix, everything's starting to get loud and punchy, but there's just something off. Some ugly, harsh frequency that makes the whole thing feel, I don't know, a little bit amateur. Well, today, we're going to learn how to hunt that thing down and get rid of it for good.
Man, we have all been there, right? It's that moment where a mix you've poured hours into is being held hostage by one single awful sound. You know the one I'm talking about, that piercing sizzle in the cymbals, or that muddy, honky sound in the guitars. It just wears you out and totally kills the professional vibe you're trying to create.
So I want you to think of these problem frequencies as enemies, little villains hiding in your mix. They can be really sneaky, but here's the good news. They are not invincible. With the right technique, you can become a sonic surgeon, hunting them down and just eliminating them with absolute precision. Now these enemies, they basically come in two main flavors. First up, you've got the painful frequencies. These are the ones that literally make you flinch, that sharp, ice pick to the ear kind of sound. And then you have the annoying ones. They might not cause physical pain, but they make your mix sound congested, muddy, and just unprofessional. We're going to learn how to deal with both.
So, what's our weapon of choice for this hunt? It's an incredibly powerful but super simple technique that pros use all the time. It's called search and destroy. And the best part? All you need is a basic parametric EQ. Seriously, this is going to completely change how you clean up your mixes.
Okay, before we start our hunt, we gotta understand our most important tool, the Q setting on our EQ. Think of it like the focus on a magnifying glass, or even better, a laser beam. A low Q gives you this wide, gentle curve that's great for broad tonal shaping. But a high Q creates a super narrow, razor-sharp spike, and that lets us zoom in on one tiny little sliver of sound with surgical precision. This is key.
All right, here's the four-step mission. It's super simple. Step 1, you boost. Grab an EQ band, crank the Q way up so it's really narrow, and then boost the gain like crazy, maybe 12 dB or even more. And yeah, it's going to sound absolutely horrible, but trust me, that's the whole point. Step 2, you sweep. Just play your track and slowly drag that boosted spike across the frequency spectrum. Step 3, you find. You're listening for that one spot that just jumps out and sounds exceptionally bad. It could be a piercing whistle or a muddy resonance that just screams at you. Boom, that's your target. And finally, step 4, you cut. Once you found it, you just flip that massive boost into a cut. And just like that, the problem is gone. So, we've got the method down, but what exactly are we listening for when we're doing that sweep? Learning to identify the character of these different problem frequencies, well, that's what really separates a good mix from a truly great one. Let's break it down.
Think of this chart as your treasure map for the hunt. It translates those vague feelings, into actual numbers. So if something sounds truly painful, like a piercing S sound on a vocal, you're probably going to find it somewhere in that 2 to 8 kilohertz range. If it's just annoying, like a snare drum that sounds boxy or muddy, well, your enemy is probably hiding down in that 200 to 500 hertz zone. Now, let's zero in on this specific range, 2 to 5 kilohertz. This, my friends, is the danger zone. And why is that? It's because the human ear is naturally most sensitive right here in this area. So any little buildup of energy in this zone very, very quickly becomes physically painful to listen to. This is where you find that harsh edge on vocals, that nasty fizz on distorted guitars, and that painful ping from a snare drum. This range is public enemy number 1 in most mixes.
Theory is great, but let's talk about how this actually works on real instruments. Once you know the common problem areas for different sound sources, your search and destroy missions get way faster and way more effective. So let's look at some of the usual suspects.
Drums. Oh man, drums can be a minefield of harshness. You got a snare with a really painful ping sound? Try sweeping around 5 to 8K. Is your kick drum sounding like someone's hitting a cardboard box? The problem's probably between 200 and 600 hertz. What's so great about this technique is that you can surgically remove, say, one ugly resonant ring from a tom without making the entire drum kit sound thin and weak. It's precision.
And of course, vocals and guitars. That sharp S sound or sibilance on a vocal, your target's usually somewhere between 3 and 6 kilohertz. Got a vocal that sounds kind of nasal or honky? Take a look around 1 kilohertz. And for distorted guitars, that harsh, fizzy sound that just fatigues your ears, it's almost always hiding in that critical 2 to 5 kilohertz range we just talked about. One small narrow cut here can literally save the entire guitar tone.
So now that we know how to destroy these frequencies, let's zoom out for a second. This technique isn't just about fixing mistakes. It's actually part of a much more powerful and fundamental mixing philosophy.
This is it, the eternal question in mixing. And you'll hear a lot of pros tell you to almost always prioritize cutting frequencies over boosting them. The search and destroy method is the perfect example of why. It's a form of what we call subtractive EQ.
And this is the most crucial point of all. When you cut out a muddy frequency, you're not just getting rid of the mud. You are actively creating space. You're carving out a little pocket in the mix that lets the punch of the kick drum, or the clarity of the vocal, or the warmth of the bass be heard without having to fight for attention. You're not adding anything new. You're just revealing all the good stuff that was already there, hiding underneath.
So, the next time you're mixing, before you reach for a booster to make something sound better, I want you to stop. Grab your parametric EQ, put on your detective ears, and go on a hunt. Ask yourself, what's getting in the way? Because by searching for and destroying the bad stuff, you'll uncover the amazing sounding mix that's been hiding there all along.